In today's episode, Phil asks, my site's functionality is being limited by ad blockers. How do I make my site more trustworthy? So Phil's question is an important one for a few reasons. Number one, ad blockers and ad blocking technology are getting more and more aggressive as the arms race between advertisers and ad blockers continues to escalate. What that means, of course, is that ad blockers block certain types of ads. Advertisers, particularly those who are less scrupulous, try to find ways to defeat the ad blockers, and the ad blockers adapt, and so on and so forth. It is very much an arms race of whose technology is better. We see this especially with companies like Facebook, for example. Facebook has been at war with ad blockers for quite some time. Of course, logically, Facebook's advertising model, their revenue model is based on advertising, at least until for some time to come. And so, as a result, there's a lot of collateral damage because ad blockers then start blocking all kinds of things, analytics scripts, tag management stuff, and functionality that we might want to use on our websites, but might not work correctly anymore. So to Phil's question, in the near future, as marketers, we're going to have to start adapting to this new reality. And the specifics of that mean that we will need to be asking, like email marketers, hey, please add my site to the whitelist on your ad blocking software. So for example, in the ad blocking software Ghostery, there's a button that says trust this site, and you can tell somebody, you can ask a visitor, please trust my site in your ad blocking software. The same is true for like AdBlock or uBlock Origin or any of these tools. You can say to a user, please trust my site, please deactivate your ad blocker in order to experience maximum functionality on the site. That you're going to get a small success rate. You'll probably get your highest success rate from people who have done things like opt into your email list or to your Slack community or to any owned property where you have the ability to influence them and ask that permission of them. You're probably not going to succeed as well with things like pop-ups on your website, if they even work, because again, a lot of things like pop-ups are blocked functions. The other thing to do is make sure that you are implementing all of the major best practices for sites to run on mobile devices using what's called the Accelerated Mobile Pages, or AMP. The reason for this is that if it works on mobile, if it works in AMP, it will work regardless of whether an ad blocker is running or not, because AMP provides a very limited subset of what is permitted tracking technology. When you look at a page that has, straight HTML5, very simple forms, clear graphics, not very much JavaScript, not very much interactivity, you've got a site there that is going to be relatively immune to ad blockers because there's nothing to block other than, straight HTML content. So be thinking about how can you simplify your site. And then everything that you would need for a trustworthy site. So, of course, good site architecture, disability compliance, all those things that disability compliance in particular, it's called Section 508 in the United States, allows your site to run well for like text-only browsers or assisted browsers. Guess what? Those technologies also are relatively immune to ad blockers because they're super simple. They strip a site down to the bare basics so that it works in those browsers. So making your site compliant, there are a number of like Section 508 wizards that you can use to evaluate your site as to how good it is at that. But there's a bigger issue here. There's a much bigger issue here, and that much bigger issue is that so many of the analytics tools, the functionality on our website, the interactivity, so many of these different tools are vulnerable to being blocked. And that creates a real problem for marketers who want to be accurate with their data, as well as offer enhanced functionality, which is what Phil's question is. If you look, for example, at your infrastructure analytics. In fact, let me bring up an example here. This is the tracking data from Cloudflare. So Cloudflare is a caching service that makes the websites that we operate more resistant to attacks. But a side benefit is that by passing all of our traffic through their infrastructure, we can get a sense of how much traffic there is. So if you look here on Cloudflare's analytics, we see it says that I had a minimum daily visitor log about 2,700 a day, maximum about 6,000 a day. If I look at the most recent day, I had about 3,790 visitors to my website. That's cool, right? Now let's look in Google Analytics for the same time period. Google Analytics is saying 400, 463, 475 users a day. That's a big difference. That's like 5x difference, right? 6x difference in the number of visitors that Google Analytics thinks I had versus what Cloudflare thinks I had because of caching technology, ad blocking scripts, all sorts of things that are interfering with Google Analytics' ability to track effectively. This is one of the reasons why tag management software is important and why implementing analytics with the no script feature is super important, because otherwise you are losing the ability to measure traffic, and it's a pretty serious problem. So if I am getting inaccurate reporting on my analytics, I have a real data quality problem, right? And your site probably does too. So one of the things we're going to have to do as marketers probably in the very near future is work with our hosting providers to implement server-based logging again, which is something that we used to use in website marketing back in the early 2000s. Some people will remember the venerable AW Stats plugin way back in the day that looked at server logs and what was hitting the server. The only reliable way we can judge how much traffic we're getting is to measure it on the device itself, right? Because no tracking software can block the fact that you are consuming resources on a server. So start looking around at options. If you're a marketer who is charged with the analytics of your website, start looking at backup options to tools like Google Analytics that can look at the server data itself. In addition to Google Analytics, we're not getting rid of Google Analytics because we're going to need its information, but there's a real problem when it comes to scripts and tracking codes being blocked by ad blocking technology as this war between advertiser and ad blocker continues to ramp up. And make sure that you've got great analytics on things that are tangible actions people can take, like subscribing to a newsletter, so that you can still see an impact down funnel, even if your web analytics quality degrades over time due to ad blocking. Great question, Phil. Important question. Lots to unpack here. Lots to do. And you need to do it soon, because if you don't, you're going to be flying blind after a while. As always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the newsletter. And I'll talk to you soon. Want help solving your company's data, analytics, and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.